Peter, how you doing today?
Hey, good.
There's such great dialogue in this film. You know, particularly you have a big argument with Cate's character. What's it like to be directed by Woody Allen in a scene that's so rich?
Well, in that scene that you're talking about in particular, that was the most difficult scene to do. And he really wanted to get it in one shot, you know. And there was a lot of, you know, we're listening to each other, but in a way we're not listening to each other. We're kind of talking over each other and then responding specifically at times. So that scene was challenging because of that. You know, a lot of times you feel like you can do a scene and not listen to the other actor, which is very dangerous, but relatively easy to do. You can do a scene where you're totally responding to each little thing. And then this scene seemed way wilder. It involved both. You know?
Your character's entrance in the film I thought was absolutely great because he's got this really smug, kind of like cavalier attitude. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering, is that just your interpretation of the character, or is that what he's saying, okay, I want you to look a certain way?
Smug and cavalier is just what you get by casting me, you know. No, I remember that was probably the most specific direction that Woody ever gave me, but, you know, it was mostly about where I would be when she first comes into that room. And he had something to say about the way I walked over to her, but like, no, it's very much up to you, you know? I think that Woody Allen pays a lot of attention to casting, and then once he's cast the part, he knows that it's basically going to be in a certain realm because you're you.
You know, let's talk about Cate's performance in this film. She's absolutely brilliant, and that's saying something. Her career is, you know, pretty extensive. Do you, as an you know, you've had an extensive career as well. When you work with someone like her, do you gain anything from that, or do you guys feed off each other? Like, what do you learn from her?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I only knew the Cate Blanchett that was the character. So to me, this was a person that was having a nervous breakdown, you know? And I remember coming home and telling my wife, I was like, I think Cate Blanchett's having a nervous breakdown. And, but of course, it's the character in the film, you know? So I don't feel like I know, it wasn't so much like an interaction between actors a lot of the time, you know? It was like, we were really kind of interacting as characters. And so there wasn't much time to reflect and go, oh, I'm learning this from this actor. We were just sort of doing it. I mean, even when the camera was off, I was a lot like Dwight. You know, I could see that she was like in some sort of turmoil, and I just let her be, you know? I mean, Dwight's not very interested in going like, what's going on? Are you having a difficult time, you know?
I'm a big fan of your work. I think you've chosen a lot of very interesting characters to play. This character I think is very interesting as well. But yeah. When you get a script from Woody Allen, or you hear that Woody Allen wants you in a movie, if you wanted to play a milkman, would you just play the milkman just to work with him?
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's funny, he sent me a letter offering me the part. I met with him first, and then he sent me this letter offering me the part, and he said, if this role doesn't interest you, I won't hold it against you, and I'll consider you for something else down the line. And, you know, I wasn't going to wait for something else down the line. I hope that there'll be something else down the line. You know, I would love to act with him again. Especially now, I feel like I have a better understanding of what the way that he works. You know, it's different from some other people. It's actually somewhat similar to the way that Kelly Reichardt works, who I worked with afterwards, where it's very much up to you, you know. She's written a great script, he's written a great script. They have a real sense of the story. They cast you because of qualities you have that you can't even control, and they're basically just expecting you to do it. They don't sit there and, you know, ride your shoulder and say, now turn left and both hands on the wheel, and, you know. It's very much up to you, which I like, and very few takes.